What's up, guys? Just want to make this quick pre video pre advertisement show. Like always, Smart Up is our sponsor today, and you can see their ad here. Thank you, Smart Up, for sponsoring this video. Much appreciated to you guys. As always, links in the description box down below. Please check them out. They do support the show, but don't worry, no added cost to you guys. They are a soap company. Shocker. And they basically help guys like me who are both martial artists and lifters to basically keep clean. Obviously, if you're a martial artist, you don't know who has what. You're sweating everywhere. Same thing with lifting too. You don't know who, like, which sweaty person touched what, and yeah, it keeps you safe. It keeps you clean and it keeps you safe from ringworm and like other stuff that could actually be, number one, contagious. Number two, be very harmful for you and other people. So just stay safe. And like I said, it's a great soap company. I actually personally use this, so I can actually tell from experience that, hey, this is something that you should definitely check out. But as always, thank you for listening, and here is your podcast. What's up, guys? Coming back to another video on this channel. As always, I am the Rhino.
I'm the Bat.
We got a couple of guests on our show today that I'm very excited about. If you've seen the TV show Human Weapon, we got both Jason Chambers as well as Bill Duff. Bill Duff is actually a former football player and martial artist. Jason Chambers is a martial artist. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Good. I used all my good material about 3 minutes before we started recording, so I'm out for now. You got to have a pre-show. That's what you got to have. The pre-show before the show.
Right.
I'm also high as eagle pussy right now, so hopefully that doesn't affect this too much.
Yeah, I'm actually super fanboying out right now for all the viewers. I'm a huge Human Weapon fan, so I watched every episode. These are a couple hundred times.
Wow, that's about 200 times more than I've seen most of them.
Yeah, I really watched all the episodes yesterday. I was so hyped about this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was literally watching an episode not so long ago with one of my buddies. We were watching the one where you guys go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite ones too. Bill, I think you hated it, didn't you?
I couldn't stand that. I couldn't hold on to the sticks. I was so sweaty.
That's I'm not even gonna touch that one. You left that wide open.
I let Jason hold my stick.
Oh, I don't know why I made the universal vagina symbol. Well, maybe I guess that makes sense if you think about it.
Right.
Actually, Jason was really good at the Eskrima stuff. He had some experience with it, and it was really brand new for me. So I kind of relied on Jason to kind of show me how to do a lot of the stuff, because in the show there was a lot of stuff lost in translation. That's one thing we didn't really get across that well, that sometimes the masters just didn't speak the language. So
literally,
you were just looking around and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. What I liked most about the show was the fact that the History Channel had no qualms just lying to people. I used to think of the History Channel as this prestigious Civil War I would write reports and go back and watch History Channel videos, because I took whatever they said as the Bible, right, or whatever. And Bill and I would, because look, we're shooting a TV show. We can't run 9 miles with boulders on our shoulders for 3 hours. That's just gonna kill a bunch of time. So we'd run past camera 15 times, And I'm like, what are they doing? And then I watch the show and it's like, then they ran 47 miles uphill. I'm like, what? History Channel just lying to motherfuckers. They were making stuff up as we go too. They're like, show us like we had this director, Patty Secrets, who's a total douchebag for the first few episodes, and nobody liked him. He was just a prick. And so like we ended up doing a bunch of the episodes, and like he had no idea what the fuck he was doing. Like in terms of martial arts, it was just hilarious to watch this. He's telling Bill to keep saying, "I'm gonna grip him up if they get close," and I'm just like, "This, what are you saying?" Like, tell him to do like a push kick thing, and I'm just like, "Oh, this show is they're gonna cancel us after one episode." So like,
Yeah.
it was fun.
So, like, how was your guys' experience on doing weapons? Did you guys obviously have a martial arts background, and I know Bill Duff has more of a football and wrestling background, similar to myself.
As far as, are you asking as far as like the casting of the show?
Yeah, like overall, like your general experience.
The casting I thought was one of the more interesting things. I'm sure Jason would agree with me. It was like me and Jason and a couple like traditional martial artists, and then basically the cast from the UFC's first
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Like Chris Lieben was there. Seth Petrozelli was there. Dean Thomas was there. That's why Dean Thomas and I became really good friends. It was the weirdest casting director because like most of the time, like I moved to LA to act. Like I moved to New York and I did like everyone knows I did MMA, but like I did like 3 years of like an intensive conservatory like acting program too. Like I was like, damn, do I want to do stage or cage? And like most real auditions come through like agents because they send up this thing. And there was this MMA site called MMA.tv, the underground, that was like used by just like really rabid MMA fans, like in the early 90s, called Subfighter. And then like 2004 became MMA Underground. But before MMA got huge. So there was like a thread like, hey, they're auditioning for hosts for some martial arts show. And I was at the time had UFC fighter Drew Fickett living with me. And I said it to my agent. I'm like, is this real? Because this like typically like shit you find like on the back of a napkin is not a real production, right? So he calls up, he's like, yeah, I guess they're doing this thing. And it's sort of a pilot for the History Channel. And you know, if you want to like, you know, they're going to travel the world and they don't really know exactly what it's going to look like, but you could be living in a tent or some shit. And I was like, all right, whatever. So like, I was literally took it not serious at all. And I was folding laundry with my roommate Drew at the time. And we're just like I interviewed him, he interviewed me, and then they sent the taping. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, they're going to do this other casting round. When you typically go to a casting, you get some sort of sides or lines, you show up, you sign your name on a sheet, you go in, you do an audition, you leave, callbacks maybe are a little more involved. This was casting with the casting director. The only thing he had cast in the past was hardcore pornography. And I'm not even fucking kidding. He was a porn casting director. So we knew this was going.
Back up. Say what now?
Yeah. So the casting director that they used to find Bill and I had directed, like, was really well known for being a porn director in Los Angeles. So naturally I was intrigued. So, they have this like callback and we go there and it's like, I don't know if it was a day or 2 days, Bill, I don't remember. But there was like, they had like weird shit. They would put like me and Dean Thomas together, then go have us like run around and find like a scavenger hunt shit. Then they'd put Bill and I together to like eat food together. Then they'd be like, who else do you want to pair up? And they paired up all these people. And it was like it was a totally weird, like, I think they tried to emulate situations we'd be in on the show. And then they had us like, they brought in a martial arts master. And like Eddie Bravo was one of the people that was like in this final audition, right? And like they brought in this Wing Chun master who they wanted to teach us Wing Chun. So they like videoed us like learning Wing Chun and like asked him. And like it was a weird mix, right? Because like the traditional martial arts guys are some really, really good like karate and taekwondo guys. And they just sucked when it came to like the interaction part. And then there's people that had a really good acting background, right? And then like they weren't like good martial artists. And then you had a few guys like Bill and Dean Thomas and myself, maybe Chris Lieben, Seth, that were articulate, could talk and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was crazy. And then I don't know how it happened for Bill. They I think they told me that like I was being cast, and then they weren't sure if it was going to be Bill or Dean Thomas. They were kind of like back and forth. And I was like, well, let's be honest. The History Channel ain't exactly known for putting brothers in front of the camera. It's going to be the big white dude. So then it ended up being Bill, and it was fun. Like the first episode we did was the Muay Thai episode. Then we like didn't hear shit for 8 months. It was like just dead silence. So what was your take, Bill? I just kind of rattled off there forever.
No, it's about right. I mean, you knew a lot of people at the casting. I literally got on the elevator with a couple of the UFC guys, Lieben and Koscheck, and they almost fought each other right there on the elevator. And I literally like put my hands on both of them. I'm like, yo guys, you know, you're not getting paid for this. So it was quite the experience. I enjoyed it. And then the casting director kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a heavyweight." And I kind of looked around the room and I'm like, okay, well, I'm way, way bigger than everybody here. So if they really want the big guy, I'm pretty much their choice. But I didn't know what the hell they were going to do. And I had come from working on stunts for like the movie Invincible and Game Plan. So it was just kind of I was dipping my toe into the entertainment world and lucky enough to get the gig.
Nice. You have any questions for me?
What year was it when Koscheck was there? Was he at AK at the time?
Yeah, he was at AKA. They just finished the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, so this is probably 2006 or 7, right? Because our show was 7 and 8 or 8 and 9. It's probably 2007. And they just finished Ultimate Fighter. I forgot that Koscheck was there, which is ironic because he's such a difficult person to forget, no matter how hard you try. So that's like a different era, man. The UFC has come so far. It's such a different show back then as it is now. Like there was a time when I would watch every UFC. Like, and I literally at one point coming off the show was friends with 10 out of the 15 guys on any given card, right? Like I trained with Chuck Liddell and all those guys and Eddie and was friends with Rogan and shit. But like now I have no fucking idea who 99% of the guys are, right? It's crazy. There's fights 50 times a year and it's like, how do you keep up with that? It's insane. But it's good to see that there's guys getting the opportunity.
Right. So it was like this show was actually aired back in 2007, 2008, which as a reference point, I was in a freshman year in high school at the time.
Okay.
So just to make it
that's so harsh. Yeah, no, I definitely fucking feel old. I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just turned 40 in March. This year has been a fucked year. My wife got pregnant the same month that I turned 40, that we bought a house and the pandemic hit. Like any one of those is plenty for a whole year. We had to smash as much as we could in 30 days.
Yeah. Like looking back on it now, like obviously Human Weapon was only there for like a season, maybe a season and a half. Like, do you guys regret doing the show now, or like?
Yeah, we hated every minute of it. No.
I don't regret doing the show. I think it was a once in a lifetime experience, and became really good friends with Jason and a couple of the production crew. It was just became a really tight knit family. The sound guy, the camera guys, they were all the same guys for every show. So we all wound up going out for drinks and food and karaoke every night. I think if they would have put a camera on the karaoke incidents, that would have been a good show too.
You guys should make one more episode.
Like we wait any longer and it's going to be us fighting with canes and wheelchairs. Like, it's going to be Human Weapon. Can they stand? Not stand it. Just can they stand?
Yeah.
That's,
So
I'm going to feel like Yoda.
I know you guys met multiple fighters during the show. My favorite being Fedor Emelianenko during the Sambo episode. I know Bill Duff fought one of his proteges. How was it, number one, meeting the last emperor, and number two, fighting one of his prized possessions in a matter of sense?
So that's not true.
Yeah. Let me just go back to the point that the History Channel has no fucking problem lying to people. Take it away, Bill.
So the kid I fought was he was a local fighter and he was very young. I think he was 18 or 19.
Okay.
And really what happened was this guy, Patty Secrets, who was one of the directors, Patrick Lee Bell, he actually went up to Fedor, unbeknownst to me, and asked Fedor if he would fight me for $500 in the Sambo tournament.
Now, just for the record, this is Fedor coming off of Pride and like just smashing everyone. And it is arguably, He was in Strike Forces, the Grand Prix champion. He was arguably the toughest, baddest fucking dude in the world. What's worse, having the prospect of fighting him or the fact that we offered him a whopping $500? I would have beat Patty Secrets if I had known that. Like, the guy just made like $3 million his last fight. You're like, we're going to give you $500, kid. We know in Russia, a lot of money. Go buy some soup,
I think Fedor looked at me. He's like, "Who is this giant idiot?"
Yeah,
he's offering $500 to fight, and I don't know. It was, if I would have known that, it would have been really embarrassing, and I probably would have stopped the interview. But Fedor was great. He was super nice, very welcoming. It was actually the tournament I fought at was his tournament. It was like Fedor Emelianenko Day. And that was really cool to see. But the fight was it was an odd fight because it was like a grown up versus a kid. And yeah, I mean, it was weird.
It's hilarious because from the sidelines, Bill hit the nail on the head. I kept thinking to myself, like, this is a lot like watching domestic violence. like just watching some dad, like, every time like Bill threw the guy, I wanted to be like, where's your fucking homework? You know, did you clean your room? Like, this is fantastic. But I have a maniacal sense of humor. There were so many things about the show that I think Bill said too, like that happened behind the scenes or like just not planned, the bloopers, that I'm so shocked they didn't have like a blooper or outtake reel. There was so, I mean, like Bill and I have a blast regardless of like, you know, the main synergy was like Bill and I were like kind of together. Then we also like had like the family of like the other 3 or 4 producers that would hop in, the 2 directors, the 2 camera guys, and then our sound guy. That was a group of 6 to 10 of us that kind of traveled everywhere together around the world. But like, there's so many funny like situations and things that happened and just bloopers, and like it's nothing really made it. The only thing that made it in was the karate episode, the one with the finger, and I was like, ow, that really hurts too, though. Yeah. That was the only like blooper I saw that made in. But c'est la vie.
Like, what's your favorite episode out of like everything that you guys shot around the world?
Personally, my favorite was going to Malaysia, and it's for personal reasons. That's when I found out me and my wife were pregnant with our first. Okay. So that was after we shot the episode. But I really liked Kuala Lumpur. I really liked the people there. Their martial art was something that you could practice from age 8 to 80. And I think that's neat. I think that's one of the cool things the show really brought across was it's not always just about beating the crap out of somebody or defending yourself. It could just be about community, right? And that's what really dojos, fight houses, boxing clubs, that's what it becomes. And you keep going back there because you have friends there and they're people who have your back. And that is way more important than how to punch someone in the face.
Right. I mean, we're all martial artists here. I know you guys have been training since for a very long time. I currently have a blue belt in Krav Maga. I know Victor has a couple belts under his name. So it's like we all understand that general sense of camaraderie and family. So I mean, like, it's really interesting, and like I'm really trying to keep myself calm right now. I'm like not like giddy with laughter and all that stuff from meeting you guys, because you guys are like really cool in my opinion. So but anyways, it's like, since obviously it's been 13 years, 14 years since Human Weapon.
12, or you said 2008, something like 12 years, right? 12 and a half.
Right.
Somewhere
what have you guys been doing since? Like, you guys been fighting, or?
I've just been sitting by the phone waiting for the History Channel to call. Like, History Channel, you there? There? No, so I started boycotting the History Channel. No. Man, I have been doing a lot. I got into real estate. I have a broker's license. I still teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a black belt from Henzo. I started a sports agency that kind of combined some of my relationships in the sporting industries and being a fighter with knowing my relationships on the entertainment side. So we represent athletes that are in MMA, Olympics, BMX, cross-country skiers, surfers, and stuff like that. So we, as a community, Apex Sports Agency, do like their sponsorship deals. We do contract negotiations. Just about 6 months ago, I started diving back into like acting field and stuff and just started to get that. Now that I kind of had a place in my life where, like, coming off a Human Weapon, like up until the last day, they were like, it was always a Human Weapon and Ice Road Truckers. We were always, every week, one of us was in the first spot, right? So like, it was very, very rare for a network to lose its top or second show. The problem was the production company wasn't able, they would be like, shit, the History Channel is waiting until the last minute to like tell us we're going to order 6 more episodes. Then for them to try to like plan it and do all this big show and cut it together, they were missing deadlines. So like what would happen is the advertisers would be paying $2 million for like a 30-second spot for Crest because it's going to be the new episode of Human Weapon next week, Krav Maga. And then like they didn't have the fucking episode done. So they would be like, just kidding, it's going to be the old karate episode. People would be watching like, oh fuck, this ain't a new episode. Click, and turn it off. So the viewer would lose faith with the relationship with the TV. So you're like, well fuck, is it a new episode? Because TV Guide says so, because we're old and that's what the fuck we use was TV Guide. Or is it going to be on like, I'm TVing this shit wrong? So like they were talking about like another 28 episodes when we had shot Korea. I was talking to the guy that ran the production company, and he's like, we haven't gotten a commitment yet, but remember, we did the first episode and it was like 8 months. They were like, we love it. We just got to change it. The wheels roll very slowly in the entertainment community. And so they're like, yeah, we're going to do boxing and we're going to do these crazy wrestling ones and a bunch of other shit. And I was like, jiu-jitsu. Like I pushed super hard for MMA to be on the first episode. I'm like, we got to expose MMA to more people. And I'm like, the History Channel is the perfect place to do it because then it gives MMA a legitimacy and it's not this crazy fucking sport. So like they were like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then it was like 2 weeks went by and like, well, they're gonna do it. They just haven't re-signed yet. Then a month went by and they're like, you can probably make summer plans. so I was like, oh shit, they're not gonna do the show. And it was crazy. And in the meantime, so yeah, I've just been doing the Apex stuff and took a long time off. And there was the writer's strike. So like coming off of the show, like all the writers struck, so like it stopped TV production. Like I ended up doing a guest spot on CSI New York as a guest star, and like that was like the last episode of CSI for like 7 months, like new episodes. So like just the entertainment industry was very feast or famine. You're either working and making a ton of money, or you're fucking like not working, and you're like, shit, I gotta hold on to that 50 grand I made that month because that's gonna last me a few months now. So like it's very feast or famine. So coming off of that, like the work dried up. And I was like, fuck it. I started Apex and did that. So now just about 3 months ago, I got back into the acting realm and I'm doing like an independent film in February, March for shooting. So up in New York. So that's pretty much it. And popping out kids left and right.
How about you, Bill? What have you been doing since End of Human Weapon?
I did some more entertainment stuff. I did a movie out in Frisco called Fist to Fist. I was cast as the big bad guy.
That sounds like a Bang Brothers movie, Fist to Fist.
Yeah, right. And then I kept noticing that every role that I was up for was the big bad guy. And then I'd go read for the big bad guy. And then they'd send me to New York to read for the big tough guy. And I didn't see my life going that way. Entertainment was for me, it was the Human Weapon was the precipice of whatever I was going to reach. I couldn't think of a cooler show to do. And, you know, I feel blessed that I even got to do it. Entertainment is great, but like Jason said, it is really feast or famine as far as money is concerned. And tough to feed the kids on a 3 or 4 month layoff. So I got into business after that. I opened a gym. I became a fight coach. Sold the gym, later got into the casino business. So for the last 8 years, I've been an executive in the casino world and doing pretty well with it. I really enjoy it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like meeting your heroes kind of thing. So I'm really, really happy right now.
Aim higher.
Oh wow! Because like I know you guys, at least, yeah, you guys actually helped me to start my own martial arts career like 5 years ago. It was like I saw the Krav Maga episode, and that's how actually I met my co-host, the Bat, at the Krav Maga gym. And 5 years later, I got my blue belt. And I was like,
it's not one of those Boss Rutan Krav Maga gyms, is it?
No.
Okay, because those, like, I love Boss Rutan, but those gyms are just bullshit. Like, those are like the Taibo of Krav Maga. It's like they pop up and it's like you come to like a 6-month course and you can open your own Krav Maga school. It's like the craziest, like that's the problem with shitty martial arts is the people that are stupid enough to pay for shitty martial arts, they don't know it's shitty. So like, it's one thing if you go through life and you're just like, I can't fight. You probably, if you have some sense of common, knowledge of, or you're sentient in some level, you realize I can't fight. So you're going to come to me in a bar. I know I can't fight. I'm not going to act tough. I'm going to talk my way out of it. The problem when you train stupid martial arts is now you think you know how to fight and you have this inflated and conflated sense of ego. You're like, oh, I did fucking Wing Chun, dude. I know how to fuck to fight. I beat the shit out of that board like for fucking hours, bro. Like I crushed that board. I was like fucking doing this and shit. Look how good my fucking sticky hands are. And then like some dude comes up to you in a bar and just knocks you the fuck out. And then you just, you're over there twitching on the ground like this shit, trying to do kung fu blocks. And like there's a lot of really shitty martial arts. I wish that the show Bill and I could have done was us going around the world and it's just called like Exposed. Like, because there's so many things that they're like, oh, you can use your inner chi to move a fucking mountain. Like, that's awesome. Can you just move this pen? There should be really, no. It's against the Holy Spirits that fucking funnel through my ancestors' anus. And I'm just like, whatever, man. Like, right hands work 100% of the time.
That's a lot of the issues with one hand, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, when in doubt, choke them out.
Oh man.
What's up, bud? Like, dogs are going bananas.
So, like it seems like do you guys believe that like the TV show Human Weapon actually changed people's lives or brought more attention to like, whatever martial arts you guys showed, or was it like, hey, F it, let's do it kind of thing?
I think it was good in a way that it definitely exposed people that wouldn't normally look at martial arts as something they thought they could do. Because if you look away from me and Jason on a lot of the episodes and look at the dojos and the people who surrounded us, most of them were just regular people, and they were dressed in their gis or they're dressed in their ninja outfits, but they'd show up in their business suit with a tie on and then take it off and throw a ninja suit on. And I mean, that's really what was interesting to me, that I imagine people at home watching this saying, hey, I can do that. If those guys are going up against them, then maybe I can give it a shot.
I'd probably say the one thing, and Bill, you probably get this a lot too. The two emails I get now are, "Hey, I'm pregnant." No, just no. The two emails I get now are like, "What was your favorite martial arts episode?" That's probably the number one question I get. And the number one comment is like, "Your show is the reason I got into X martial arts," or something like that. And I always prefer to hear the second one, because I think that, like, the reason I got into martial arts when I was younger was I was getting picked on and bullied. Like, I had some asshole Jim Ambrose or Jake, I don't remember his name, when I was like in sixth grade. I was like, damn, this kid's, that sixth grader who looks like he was like shaving when he was like 3, and he went through puberty at 5, and like he stopped growing. So like now he's still 5'5" and 140, but as a sixth grader, that's fucking humongous, right? So so like getting beat up by that guy, and I was doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu with my buddy Sean Terrence, who like he had learned from someone who had gone to a Hicks and Gracie seminar in like 1992 in Long Beach. And this was in 1994. Like, we were throwing a carpet out on our front lawn, and he'd come over once in a while because his cousin lived across the street, and he would like show me some shitty, watered down Brazilian jiu-jitsu that like nobody really knew what this was. And at the time, the joke was like, okay, dude, like all the martial arts we knew were punching and karate, and taekwondo was really big. So Brazilian jiu-jitsu was this weird, like, bro, come between my legs, I want to show you a move. And there was all the gay jokes and all that shit. And guys like, this doesn't work, you can't take me down, you can't tap me out. And like, even though this crap was shitty, what I did was I invite like the neighborhood tough kids over to like spar in my backyard to see if it worked. And like, it wouldn't necessarily work every time because I'm getting like shitty training, but half of the time I was able to beat these kids. Well, I couldn't beat these kids like 3 weeks prior, a month prior. And I was like, whoa, there's something to this shit. So I found a Jeet Kune Do school that was down the street, and it was a full-time school where the guy was he had Paul Vunak, who's under Danny Asano, who's under Bruce Lee, gave Joe Goitia his my martial art instructor, like his instructorship. And Joe Goitia was bringing Renzo Gracie in like 2 times a year in like 1994, which was like really ahead of the curve for people to be doing. So those MMA classes, or those JKD classes, were like an hour and a half, and the first 30 minutes was kickboxing, American style kickboxing. The next 30 minutes was either trapping, like empty hands, like Wing Chun stuff, or like stick work. And then the last 30 minutes, we put a gi on, we did jiu-jitsu. So it was like the real first MMA classes that when there wasn't even, they were calling it ballet tudo, no holds barred, mixed martial arts, ultimate fighting, death matches. They had all these fucking weird names for this shit. And there wasn't a real sanctioned sport. So doing that was really what got me into martial arts. So like, that's why, like, for me personally, like, I really, and if it wasn't for those bullies, like, talk about the ultimate, like, taking lemons and making lemonade, right? Like, if it wasn't for getting bullied and taken, I wouldn't have forced myself to take martial arts, forced myself to like be in MMA, forced myself to like go and do these things and be on the MMA board and haven't ever come across Human Weapon. So it worked out well. So that's for me the most important thing. Is I love when people tell me like, man, you guys are the reason I got into this martial art or that martial art, and most of them are just the wrong martial art, but it's okay. We get a few people that are like, yeah, this was good.
Yeah. And so
A lot of things. You guys, Human Weapon also got me into martial arts, and the character Batman got me into martial arts. My dad actually did Muay Thai for like 30 years, so he got me into martial arts. And I was more into soccer at the time, but I played one bad soccer game, and he's like, "Nope, I'm putting you to train to martial arts." So that's why he put me in martial arts training.
That's I just had a son. You mentioned Batman. So like my son that was born November 9th, his name is Grayson Wayne Chambers because Bruce Wayne, obviously. So there's the Wayne. And then Dick Grayson was the comic book name for Robin. Robin was Dick Grayson. So I got Grayson and Bruce Wayne, Grayson Wayne. So I'm a huge Batman nerd too.
Yeah.
But that's how most of us get exposed to martial arts. In my experience, it's been like we have a family member that's into martial arts and we're like, oh, that's cool. Or it's like movies. And for me, growing up as an 80s kid, it was movies like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, American Ninja was huge. Anything that had Wesley Snipes in it was cool. That was probably one of the, like you guys talk about fanboying, right? Like, or whatever the case is. So like I had two very explicit fanboy moments in my life. The first one was when like I was on Fear Factor a long time ago. And then after like 3 years later, I moved to LA. And just because of my martial arts, I started training at Eddie Bravo's because it was the only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym that didn't use a gi. And Eddie and Joe Rogan are best friends. So like I actually became really, really good friends with Joe Rogan after that because like I'd train and fight and like, you know, like been friends with him forever. But like that was my first like fanboy out. The other time was I was at this EA Sports thing and like, dude, I grew up watching Wesley Snipes movies. And I get tapped on the shoulder and someone's like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" And it's Wesley Snipes, and he's like, "Yo, can we take a picture? I love your show." And I was like, I got so crazy, right? Like, it's my favorite story. Like Wesley Snipes knows my show. Like that's so hilarious. I'm like Passenger 9, always bet on black. You know, like Blade. That's fucking cool. I love those Blade movies. They were horrible movies, but God, they were so much fun to watch.
I believe they're making a new Blade.
Yeah. They need to like they what's he like 90 years old? Oh, there was actually, you guys remember? So there was talk when Wesley Snipes was trying to revive his action career. Give you guys a little inside stuff, and there was talk about trying to have Wesley Snipes fight Joe Rogan in a real MMA fight. Like that was rumored, but I was like, I knew that was a real fucking thing. They were trying to set that up because I remember Joe in class being like, "Yeah, Wesley Snipes people called me and they're like, you know, hey, we're trying to get his acting career going again. Would you be interested in fighting Wesley Snipes?" And I was like, "Dude, would you do that?" He's like, "I'd fucking murder Wesley Snipes," and he would. And Joe Rogan would absolutely murder. Joe Rogan was the U.S. national Taekwondo champ. Like he is a bad fucking dude. Like his wrestling sucks and his cardio sucks, but he would beat the shit out of like probably the bottom third of any UFC fighter in his group. You know, for the first like 3 minutes, like he has to work on his cardio. He's muscled up. He's a fucking beast. And he's got hands that are like fucking giant, like Kobe Bryant fucking digits. He's a tough dude. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's like, if you're gonna bet on that fight, he's like, I was for sure. I was a broke fighter at the time, and I'm like, yeah, if I got $500, I'm betting it on that because the average person's betting on Wesley Snipes against Joe Rogan. Only a very few number of people are betting on Joe Rogan because they understand that. They're all looking at going, that's Wesley Snipes. He was Blade. I'm putting all my money on Blade. Blade is going to kill this white guy. You know, like so. So I was like, yeah. Rogan's like, yo, I'll give you some money to fucking bet on me. Get it in with that early Chinese money. So that fight never happened, and I think that's probably the smartest thing Wesley Snipes has ever done. But yeah, that'd have been a fun fight to have happen. The old celebrity matches.
Speaking about celebrity matches, those have been happening. Well, more for boxing, but it's been happening over the past.
Yeah, I mean that's something that they've always done. Like MTV, remember Bill? The MTV did that show. Like I think it was called Celebrity Boxing, wasn't there something where they had like
Bully Beatdown?
Like
right?
no. That's I got another funny story. The reason Jason Mayhem Miller has Bully Beatdown is because I introduced him to my fucking hosting agent. They called me and they're like, "What do you think about this show?" And I was like, "That sounds fucking retarded." But like they a totally different way at the time. I was actually thought like I was going to fight bullies, and I was like, they're going to the bullies fight the kids and stuff. And I'm like, the kids are going to get their asses kicked. They're not going to learn shit in a week. But then they changed the show, and I was like, here's Jason Miller, who's fucking insane. But there was that show, Bill, that was I think it was celebrity. Like I know that Tanya Harding did a boxing match on it.
I knew the producer who did the boxing matches down in AC for it was like Tanya Harding and Danny Bonaducci and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, they asked me if I wanted to fight Bonaducci. They asked me.
Bonaducci's actually he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah. They asked me if I wanted to fight Bonaducci, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll fight Bonaducci." And then like, for whatever reason, I don't know if he said no or his people, but it never came to fruition. But I was like, "Oh, dude, do I want to fight that?" But then I was like, "What if I lose to Danny Partridge?" Like, that could be that. Like Leif Garrett might be okay, but you don't want to lose to Danny Partridge. That'd have been tough.
Yeah.
Then forever you're the dude who got his ass kicked by the Partridge boy. Like that's like Pee Wee Herman's only one step down on that totem pole.
Yeah. So like, let's just say History Channel calls you guys up tomorrow and says, "Hey, season 2 of Human Weapon, you in?" Or something along those lines. Would you guys do it or do it?
No.
Like I mean, I'd have to talk to Bill because I don't think I would do it if Bill didn't do it. To be honest,
I would. I couldn't do it. I mean, Jason could do it. He's still young and great shape, but that part of my life has passed me by.
Well, so then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not something I thought about, to be honest, but it's fun. And I look back at it, but it was also very, like, I'm in a different place in my life now. I've got, 4 kids. I have a 20-year-old son. I have twins that are 10. I've got a new born baby. I have like responsibilities to other people. So it would just really depend on, like, if they were like, yo, here's $10 million an episode. Look, I'm dragging Bill, whether he likes it or not. He's going, like your kids thank me, their grandkids thank me, we'll just stand up there like this and just get knocked out for $10 million a week. I don't care. We'll just be like a rock'em sock'em robot, just fucking showing up and doing this off of the plane. Whoever gets in our way, fuck them. So like, yeah, it's crazy because they broke up. They shot like a long one season. They shot the way that like TV shows work is they shoot a pilot, then they take the pilot back because they're not really sure what the show should look like. They have an idea, like this concept sounds cool. Pilots are proof of concept. So they take all that stuff and they go to the network and they go, hey, we want to do this martial arts show. And then they look at it and they go, yeah, that's cool. Let's see less of those guys talking, more of them training, more scenic shots. And they recut it like, oh, that's close. And when they finally get the episode where they like it, they test it to audiences and they're like, do you guys like it? What do you like? What don't you like? And then that's how from the pilot you get picked up to a series. But they shot like 15 or 16. Usually a season's 8 to 12. So they broke our show up to 2 seasons technically. I think it's 2 seasons. But it was really surprising at the time too. It's just that we didn't have like the last episode was ironic because that's the episode. The only time Bill got hurt and I got hurt was on the Taekwondo episode, and that's where like I hold the record still on the History Channel for the most curse words dropped in a single show because I tried some crazy tornado kick and I just heard my knee go like the loudest pop and I just blew out my ACL. And I was like, it's an injury till today that I still have and I haven't gotten surgery, but I'm supposed I keep putting it 6 months out and all this shit keeps happening in my life that has now looked back. It's been 12 years I have no ACL. So it would depend. I wouldn't be against doing it, but there'd be a lot of mitigating factors, unlike the 26-year-old me who was like ecstatic that I was going to be. It's a very surreal experience, like when you because you talk about like, oh, you guys know us from TV, right? But like fucking like Bill and I are the most like drink a beer, hang out, chill guys in the world. And maybe that's part of the reason that we got cast in there, right? But like it's a very surreal experience when I know we did the pilot, it was like that was a cool thing. I felt like I booked a cool thing, but I didn't give it any more thought, right? So like when they said, oh, we're gonna fly you guys to Tennessee, and they're like they want 15 episodes. It's gonna be you're gonna be on a TV series. It's weird. I remember getting off the plane, driving back, like they had a car pick us up, and like it didn't really hit me until I saw like 3 episodes in started airing, because until the episodes air, like you're basically just making home videos. Like they're like, you're just videoing shit. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody really gives a fuck. So like I was driving back and there was this big human weapon billboard on Sunset Boulevard. And I was like, fuck. And then just the totality of that hit me. Like I'm in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California on Sunset Boulevard with my fucking noggin and it was almost like life size. I have such a fucking huge head that it doesn't take much to fill up a billboard. But that was very, very surreal. And then like about 3 weeks later, I was in a movie theater and they showed like a preview for Human Weapon before the movie. And I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like I'm not going to stand up and like, that's me, but like, it was definitely inside. I was like, that's pretty gnarly.
That's cool. I mean, over the course of the conversation, you actually answered all my questions I had. Funny enough, right? Hey, do you have any questions or things you want to say?
I can have a few questions. For Bill, what's your favorite martial art?
Wrestling. I started wrestling at the age of 5, and I was a 2-time heavyweight state champ in Jersey, and really wanted to wrestle in college, but the route that I was going to go to Iowa and wrestle and play football on a dual scholarship, but then they got busted for illegally recruiting me. They gave me a hat and a T-shirt up at a bowl game, so that's what bumped them out. I mean, it broke my heart. I had Iowa posters in my room as a kid. Dan Gable was a hero of mine, and it really just pushed me into football alone, and wound up going to Tennessee, and obviously, professionally after that. But yeah, wrestling is home for me. So and wrestling really reminded me a lot of the jiu-jitsu gyms, because after doing the Human Weapon, I got to go to some jiu-jitsu gyms and train with some really good guys. And just the camaraderie is really, that's really what you miss, right? When you leave it or you get a little bit older and you can't really do it much anymore, you got kids and jobs and all that. You miss that part of it more than you miss the striking or the locks or the takedowns. So yeah, for sure, wrestling.
What about you? What about yours, Jason?
What's my favorite martial art?
Yeah.
To watch or to train? Because I like to watch
Train.
Jiu-jitsu for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu since I was like 14. So yeah, I prefer no-gi jiu-jitsu, like ADCC and stuff like that. But it's funny you talk about Bill's wrestling. Like a lot of people, when we did the MMA episode, I was like, I've known Rico Rodriguez for years, but one of the things that even Rico Rodriguez will tell you is like when he's not in shape, he's really, really not in shape. Like he's not like some of the fighters that walk around that have to fight in lightweight or welterweight, where if you're training 5 days a week, maybe you're not training super hard, but you're always going to be like 15, 20 pounds off of being able to make weight in like, 3 to 6 weeks, right? Rico Rodriguez doesn't get 15 pounds heavier. He gets 150 pounds heavier. So I remember during the MMA bout, I told the producers, they're like, oh, your bout's going to be competitive because, he's an MMA fighter and he's an MMA fighter. And I'm like, yeah, I train with this kid. Like, I know I'm going to beat him. And they're like, but Bill's going to be, I go, don't. They're like, no, but Rico Rodriguez is a UFC heavyweight champion. Do you understand what the champion is? I'm like, yeah, he's the dude who put on 200 pounds and decided I don't need to train anymore is what the champion is. I go, Bill's tough. He's not going to take him down. Like, if Bill hits hard. And then everybody watched that episode and they're like, damn, that made Rico look pretty shitty that like UFC champion couldn't take out like some History Channel host, right? And I was like, you guys need Bill has really good wrestling and he's fucking smart, which is it's another huge benefit when you're like not like blowing your load. He's very tempered. Rico was gassed as shit after the first round. It was hilarious. You go back over like end of the first round, right? And you got some white dude from the Midwest just kind of sitting there like, all right, what's next? And you go back to the UFC champion just like he's humping over, like he's like, I was like, that's the worst like advertisement for our sport ever.
The funnier thing about that was they made me make heavyweight. So I cut all the way down to 265 and Rico comes and weighs 330 for the fight. Ooh. And I'm like, yo, I could have just stayed at 300 and this would have been a little fairer.
I think I'm going to guess that Rico Rodriguez, because those were like all non-sanctioned bouts. Rico probably was like, when they approached him to do it, he was probably like, yeah, but because like fighters are very anal about making weight. Like if we're going to fight and it's a lightweight fight, dude, you got one fucking job. You got to make weight. You get knocked out, dude, we'll make excuses for you getting knocked out. You get submitted, whatever the case is. You had a good fight and you lost, but the one thing you can control, and it's like from wrestling, Bill, too, is like if you don't make weight, that's completely, totally, utterly, and solely on you. So that's something we're always very like strict about. So I'm sure that what happened was Rico's like, dude, he's got to make 265 with zero fucking intention of anything besides throwing you a curveball that you're gonna be thinking about cutting fucking weight while he's just shoving donuts in his mouth and just eating fucking fried chicken and waffles, like.
Oh man,
Rico's hilarious.
Well, it's pretty funny. Like Bill and I actually have a similar history to athletic history to each other. Like I wrestled from 7th grade to end of college, played football, did rugby, like did all this stuff. So it's pretty fun. And I'm also a heavyweight fighter too. So like it's pretty fun to talk to a fellow heavyweight.
Yeah, heavyweights are few and far between, and I'm trying to remember. Somebody put it to me. One of my students once put it to me the best I'd ever heard it. He's like, a heavyweight's half speed is kind of like the fight between the Hulk and Loki in that one Avengers movie, where he just like grabs his foot and smacks him around. And sometimes you feel that way as a heavyweight when you're rolling with somebody or wrestling with somebody a lot smaller than you. Your only goal in that is not to hurt them, And in the show, we ran into that all the time because we'd walk into a dojo in Japan or the Philippines or something, and the biggest guy was 150 pounds. So just imagine that. They're like, all right, Bill, go spar with that guy, and he's 5'6", 150. That's their biggest guy. And the whole time I'm just thinking, man, I don't want to hurt this guy because we're literally in a village somewhere, and he's got to go and feed his family. It was really awkward.
And for the first few episodes, the story would be that we would both train, and then at the end, the master would pick who fights, Bill or I, right? So we would go and shoot 3 of these in a row. And for the first 3 episodes, like Bill's, 6'5". How tall are you, Bill? 6'3", 6'5"?
4.
6. Okay, it's right in the middle. 6'4", 290, 300 pounds. Like he's not even an option. They think he's the truck I showed up in. Like they're like, oh, what's that? Okay, so where's the other guy? Because people are always surprised when they meet me in person. I mean, I'm not a huge guy, but if you don't really have anything visually to see how big Bill is, people think, oh, he's like maybe 6 feet. You're like, what, 5'9"? I'm like, no, I'm 6 feet, and like now I'm like 205. But then I was like probably 175, 180. He's like, oh shit, you're a lot bigger than I thought too. I'm like, yeah. Well, imagine every like Asian person who's 5'3", and if they're 135 pounds, if they're fucking lucky, they're always like, let's see, let me think who's gonna fight, not the fucking mountain, like they're like, we're gonna take the little short kid over here. Like we're gonna roll the dice on the dude who looks like the 5th member of NSYNC. It's like we're just gonna see what happens. So after a while, Bill and I had to talk, and we're like, all right, like let's just make sure that like from now on, guys, Bill and I will decide. That way, it's just so taxing on one person to do. Even you got to do 2 weeks in a row, because we'll do the final fight, and it's got to be like fighty enough to really have like an intense feel, and safe enough, because the next day we fly out and we start filming the next episode. So we got to be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We can't show up with like our eye fucked up, our nose all messed up, which was always one of the things that drove me crazy about the show. There's 2 things. One is that we couldn't call like bullshit on martial arts. They wanted it to be like the History Channel was just coming off of being the Civil War channel. So they wanted to keep that like kind of polished feel they had. Like, we're going to be respectful martial artists, and that's probably the reason why a lot of the outtakes didn't make it, because my sarcastic ass, smart ass was a lot of the comments were hilarious, but probably not History Channel appropriate. But it was I totally just lost my train of thought on this. I had such a good role going on. I just totally lost what the fuck I was saying.
You were going to go to your second comment, Jason.
Yeah, I'm way. I don't. It's like, what was the first one?
The first one was calling bullshit on the.
Yes. My second thing. See, this is why Bill and I were a good team. I would just randomly forget shit, and Bill would be like, "This is the part where you talk." Yeah. They can. My other one is that we always had they tried to bill these fights as these like real intense fights. And anyone who's smart enough to want to watch the show, because it's a show that's a lot to do with the history, right? You have to also realize that there's no way that like you can go train something for 1 day or 1 week, and then you're going to go really fight someone who's not just good, the best in the world. Like, could you imagine if Mike Tyson, 1986 Mike Tyson, had got to pick some like white dude from Philly to train boxing for a week, and then they sparred real fucking hard for 3 rounds? There would be a homicide in 14 seconds, only because Mike took 13 to get off the stool. Like, that's so. I always like, it was always kind of felt disingenuous. It was always challenging. But other than that, like, it was a good experience. I can't complain. Got to travel and on someone else's dime and eat food all over the place and hang out and stuff like that. So,
cool.
I honestly miss training. Sorry to interrupt, Rhino, but I miss training. That's me and Khabib.
Oh, nice. Where'd you train at?
And he's such a good guy too. Such a amazing athlete. I never seen anyone work out like he did over there at AK.
Yeah, he's a fucking stud, man. Like, there's certain gyms, American Top Team, AKA, some Singapore Evolve, that they're just constantly turning out. There's gyms that look like they're good gyms because they had some really talented guys that just showed up there when the sport was still in its infancy. And that was like a couple, I'm not going to name names. So there's gyms like, this guy's the best coach. And it's like, not really. He had some really talented guys. But like, there's certain places like AKA definitely is one of the top 3, I think, in the world that consistently puts out super high level guys. When you've got super high level guys to train with too, it's not only is it hard to look good in that room, because some dudes like being the big swinging dick in like a shitty gym because you're like, hey, I'm beating the shit out of everybody. But then when it's fight time, you're like, ooh, this doesn't doesn't work as well as I thought it should because my training partners are just shitty, right? My ego is telling me I got to beat these guys. But when you're like an AKA, you can't have an ego because that's a stacked fucking room. Josh Thompson, fucking Eve was up there for a while. Rashad oh my god. They got so many guys that AKA was like fucking can't even think of any of their names. Swick was at AKA for a long time when he was popular.
Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, Luke Rockhold, exactly. Like Khabib and Magomedov. Khabib, like, and what's so impressive, like the Khabib is one of our biggest tragedies in the sport because what he's done is so monumentally incredible. Like 23-0 as a professional martial artist. And like there's dudes that get to the UFC or whatever he is, 28, fucking 3,000-0. Like when you get to the UFC, you can be 10-0, you can be 13-0. You can have, because most of the guys you're fighting are no longer in the UFC. So they either washed out, they couldn't hang. And maybe you're fighting them at the tail end of their careers. So you can go get to the UFC. I mean, I've beat up UFC vets, but like, and I was supposed to fight in the UFC, but I know I would never have been more than a 500 guy. I'd win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But like to go like with that record, that undefeated at that high of a level is so incredible. It's like being Michael Jordan and never losing a game. But because he wasn't like a native English speaker, he wasn't super marketable. They're like, fuck, how we're going to market him to Eastern Slovakia. Fantastic. Like, and that's why they push guys like Conor McGregor and they get Conor McGregor so much because they're like, that's a white kid that talks shit and then backs it up. And Ireland was somewhere they were trying to get in for a long fucking time. Oh yeah, I forgot I did commentary for like the UFC and one championship and Bellator and shit afterwards. But God, I'm just getting so fucking old, Bill. Bill, how old are you? You're what, 4 years older than me?
I'm 46 now.
46? Oh, you're 6 years old. Okay, it's like 6 years.
Well, I will say this: as far as on the athlete scale, one thing we failed to do on the show was we really met some incredible athletes around the world. And, I was a professional athlete for 8 years before I did the show. And I consider the show more of the same, really, professional athletics, because we did a lot of athletic stuff. But some of these guys were freaks of nature. I mean, we were out in France and we saw some of the Savat guys. And I'm just looking at them and looking at their athletic ability and thinking, wow, that guy could be a linebacker in the NFL, like if he wasn't born in France. But it's just it's pretty amazing when you see a professional level athlete, whether it be at, American Kickboxing Academy or Cleveland Browns or wherever you're looking, it almost shocks people to see that level of athleticism. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that commitment, like that Khabib has, every athlete in the world, everybody respects that. They might not respect him as a fighter or they think he's cocky, but you have to respect that ability to commit to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like one of the knocks on the UFC has always been like, I know for a fact that they push guys to try to talk fights up. And it makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to decide if you want to tune in to watch CSI or fucking Fear Factor or the UFC, because it's all just taking up an hour of your, or 3 hours or 2 hours of your day, right? It's time, the irreplaceable commodity, not financially. So like the UFC suffered from like, damn, we got all these Brazilians here kicking ass, and like every one of the Brazilians, like they're not marketable because like they try to talk shit and just, even if you're the best translator in the world, it doesn't really like, go too well. So whenever they get like a white dude, like a Robbie Lawler, they're like, yes, that's why the UFC brought Robbie Lawler back. He got in the UFC, got out. In, out. He's been back to the UFC like 3 or 4 times, and then he became champion and shit. But he'll talk shit, and he's a big striker. So like guys like GSP, when GSP, they were trying to get George St. Pierre to fight Matt Hughes for a long time, and for a long time, and they were like telling GSP like, you got to go in there and like really talk shit. If anyone's ever met George St. Pierre, he's the nicest fucking guy ever. Like he would say please and thank you while he's fighting you. Like he's such a nice guy, like genuinely. And like to watch him go in there and just have like that very forced, awkward moment where he's like, I was not impressed with your performance. Like I was like, oh, that's the shittiest talk here. Like GSP probably felt horrible after saying that. Like, I can't believe I just said he was not impressed with his performance. Like that is so disrespectful for me. Like, like I don't know why I made him sound like a weird Thai guy there for some reason for a second, but like, so there is a lot of that going on. So like, I don't think Khabib was like a shit talker. I just think that he wasn't the most marketable, because I mean, for a long time they're like, like they loved Anderson Silva just because UFC has always loved strikers. They've never been like really wanting to get behind the grapplers because it's grappling's tough. You can watch two guys street fight and be like, oh, I get what the fuck they're doing. He hit him, he fell, he wins. Whereas like watching dudes wrestle or grapple, like unless you really understand or there's some clear and concise action happening, you can't really appreciate a lot of the nuances of grappling. You know, if you watch the earlier UFCs, as soon as the fights hit the ground, you hear goes, booing would erupt almost instantly. Oh, boo, stand them up, fight, you pussies. It was like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like that fighting is so much more technical and so much more like the leverage points and like every little inch you see. And the more you learn about jiu-jitsu, the more you're watching it, you're like, oh shit, that sweep is so crazy to get, you know, or like you could train boxing for 3 years, and if you get in a street fight, there's still a 30% chance you're going to get knocked the fuck out because just that happens. You train jiu-jitsu for 3 years, you're not going to run into many people that are going to fucking stop you in a street fight. So there's my speech.
Cool. I don't know what else to say beyond this point, but
So I could go eat some food. Bill's like one of a baby. You don't feed him every 2 hours, and he starts to get fucking mad. So like we got to get Bill some food. I want to grab some grub.
yeah. Obviously, you guys keep in contact many years after the show. And do you guys like ever like hang out and go out to a bar, or at least pre-pandemic? I don't want to say now.
Yeah, I'm past the going out to the bar stage of my life as well. Jason came up last year. We hung out, got to meet his beautiful wife, Samantha. And Jason will always be a good friend of mine. The bar scene, I'm sorry, the bar scene has never been good for me. I don't know. Like, you're a heavyweight, right, Rhino? Like, you can walk into a bar and 5 guys look at you like they want to fight you for no reason at all other than you're a big guy.
Yeah.
And it just gets old, man. As you get older, you're going to learn. It gets old, and you'd rather go down to a martini bar where they're charging $20 a pop, have your one drink, and enjoy yourself. But yeah, I'll get off my soapbox. Jason's awesome. He's a great friend of mine. I just don't see me and him going out to the tunnel in New York City anytime.
Yeah, maybe it was Studio 54 if it was like 1973 or something. But
yeah, there you go.
God bless. Yeah, no, like so. Yeah, I think Bill hit it on the head. I mean, I live in Florida, and he's way up in near Massachusetts, or where are you at?
Maryland.
Where?
Maryland.
Yeah, sorry, my brain's fucking mush today. So like, we're not exactly like right by each other. We've never really been close. He lived in Ohio for a long time, and I was in California. So this is probably the closest proximity that we've lived. But that's probably a good thing, because had Bill not been married and had the show gone on, we would probably both be in custody somewhere. So like,
that's true.
For sure. Yeah, that'd be the end of the world.
Cool. Well, if you're ever in the Bay Area in California, feel free to stop by. We can meet up if you guys want.
I will. If I'm in the Bay Area, I'll let you know.
I guess we'll end it here. Yeah, I guess we'll end it here. First of all, I want to say thank you to Spar Soap for sponsoring this video, and obviously thank you to both Jason Chambers and Bill Duff for coming on the show. Where can people find you, if you don't mind me asking?
The soup line, if this economy doesn't pick up. No, you can like, so I'm horrible on social media. Like, I don't go on social media very often, but I'm on Instagram with Jason Chambers. Then I don't like, it's so easy to find people nowadays. Like, that's the worst part. Like, you can't cheat on your wives, because like there's so much, like, I mean, you shouldn't cheat on your wife, but like, it's so easy. You could type someone's name in and find 6 pages of like where they ate last week, their Yelp reviews, like all the Big Brother shit. It's insane, right? Like, there was a time you had to give business cards to people. Like, if you want to get a hold of me, press these 7 numbers in this order, and then it'll make my hip phone ring also. And like, now you just, and you get like 18 ways to track people down. So I'm sure if you Google Bill or I, so far so good.
Cool. As previously mentioned, thank you, Sparso, for sponsoring this video. Much appreciate you guys. We're going to be a long-time sponsor of this show, and as well as my own personal YouTube channels. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we can't send you guys goodie bags. So unfortunately, here's your imaginary goodie bag for right now with everything.
Nice. It's filled with, I'm going to imagine it's filled with a bunch of like anal plugs and weird kinky sex shit that you have to explain why you have at your house. He's like, oh shit.
That's like
exactly
the
what they-
outtakes that they couldn't show from Jason.
Yeah, those are the tamer outtakes. I got a funny outtakes. Okay, real quick before we go here, we were all in the Shaolin temples in Shaolin, China. This is like the Shaolin temple when you think of like the monks with the shaved head, right? This is like a legitimate, really sacred temple, and they're showing us all these martial arts styles. And in Chinese kung fu, they use the animal system a lot: tiger, crane, and bear, boar. So they're doing all these martial arts. And Bill looks at me and he's like, "Well, what animal style is your favorite?" And I looked right at the camera and I said, doggy style. And like everybody just starts, like the cameras are laughing, like Bill's laughing. We're all trying to hold our laughs back. And like, how do they not use something like that for like outtakes? Or there was one where I remember like Bill was inside of a Dunkin' Donuts, and it was Russia or where it was. And he's all you see is the back of Bill, and he's just pointing. And I had the camera guy come over, and we're by the window. And I'm like, oh, we found a Bill dolphin in its natural habitat. Watch as he hunts for the elusive jelly donut. Oh, he's got a jelly donut. Shh, be careful, he's going to go in he's going to slowly approach for the long john here. You see him reach with his right hand. Oh, he strikes fast out of the bush, he does. And he turns around, he sees it, and I'm like, oh, he spotted us, we'll have to run. And like, I'm like, how did you guys not use that? That was just so funny, you know? It was like such great footage. But who knows?
It wasn't a jelly donut, by the way. It was an apple fritter.
Was it an apple fritter?
Yeah, it was apple fritter.
That story doesn't work anymore now. It has to be a jelly donut. I've committed to the jelly donut story, Bill. Apple fritters are pretty fucking good too. So we gotta go ask Dunkin' Donuts for a check now because we give them a plug.
Yeah, there you go.
I love donuts.
Washington was more than happily take your money. Just saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having us on, man. I'm gonna eat some food with the family here before I don't have a family.
So,
All right. Peace, guys.
Guys.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one, everyone. Peace.